I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, where we discuss all of the fat meat that we can cover. What an extraordinary day. A beautiful day across our country. We've had a great week on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. In this hour, Gina Towns, President and CEO of 519 Productions, and the Executive Producer, Creative Director, and Program Director of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Smiley Audio Media's KBLA Talk 1580. She's also the host of Reflectivity on my weekly series, Fat Meat Fridays, a graduate of Hampton University with the Bachelor of Arts in Mass Media, Arts, and Journalism. Gina's also earned a Master of Arts in Theology, Social Justice from Princeton Theological Seminary. Gina, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, hello and happy Friday, Jesse Jackson Jr.
Gina, we have a very special guest in our show. Miles Marshall Lewis is a recognized pop cultural critic, essayist, literary editor, fiction writer, and music journalist with a BA degree in sociology from Morehouse College. He's the author of the essay collection Scars of the Soul, or Why Our Kids Bear Bandages When They Don't Have Bruises, concerning coming of age in the Bronx under the aegis of hip-hop culture at its genesis. He is also the series author and founder of Bronx Biannual, an urban literary journal of fiction and essays, and author of There's a Riot Going On, a book on the making of the seminal 1971 Sly and the Family Stone album of the same name. During the past 20 years, he's written for GQ, the New York Times, Ebony, NPR, the Washington Post, Rolling Stone, The Believer, Essence, and many other publications. Miles, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hello, Jesse Jackson Jr. How are you?
I'm so glad you're here. Gina?
Miles Marshall Lewis, we have been trying to get together for how many months? Okay, at least a couple, right?
It's been a couple since my last appearance. You know, I'm always glad to be here, always glad to be invited, talk to you guys.
But you are, what I love about today's show is that we are going to have a little bit of fun, but we're still going to be able to entwine music and culture, at which you are the expert, which is why I can't catch up with you, because you are here, there, and everywhere and breaking things down for people and helping people to gain more culture, to understand culture. And you are that aficionado, but we're going to also be able to take it, put it on the backdrop of some of what's happening today. So I am excited about our conversation.
Yes, I'm just as excited as you are. I just got back from Rome, Italy, covering The Greatest, which is a show that's coming out on Amazon Prime next year about the life and times of Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
Play years. And so had a nice time in Italy, and I'm glad to be back and speaking with you guys.
Well, I'm very much looking forward for you unpacking the trip to Rome and Ali's relationship with Italy.
For sure. Yeah. Well, again, this is the Cassius Clay years. Amazon Prime is hoping that the season will be season one of several. And so they were in Rome covering his win at the Olympics. If you remember that back in the season,
wow.
You know, and so they were granted permission to film in the Coliseum, which is very rare.
Wow.
And, it was something to see. So I was glad to be on hand for that.
Congratulations.
Let's not just gloss over that, Miles. How did you get to go? Tell me your involvement.
Sure. Well, I am writing a story for Essence magazine about the costume director. Her name is Marcy Rogers. And Marcy Rogers is also the costume director on the upcoming biopic for Michael Jackson that's coming out next year from director Antoine Fuqua. So I'm writing this piece for Essence on the costume director, but I'm also writing just about the series itself for Ebony. So I was there for two different publications, and I was invited as well to Toronto because they did some filming up there. And so from Toronto to Rome, you know, there's going to be a lot to talk about in terms of the series, and they've got some great players in that, a lot of up and coming people, and I hope it gets to season 2. I'm sure it will, because the films are fantastic, the storylines are fantastic.
I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to produce the Jesse Jackson Jr. show from your suitcase, because I need to go.
There's room in my suitcase.
Miles, let me ask a question before we come forward at the break. Why Muhammad Ali?
He's everyone's hero. I mentioned that I was going to a writer friend of mine, and he was like, "Oh, Ali was my hero." And I think my answer to him was sarcastic because it's like, well, everyone says that. Like Ali is everyone's hero. I've entered so many spaces where there's something framed on the wall of Ali knocking down, who is it, Sonny Liston, maybe? That famous photograph of that fight where, he could have hit him again, but he didn't because he'd won the fight already. And
Say my name.
Exactly. Obviously Ali was so principled, and he stood on principle, and he was a hero, to so many because he stood up for what he believed in, and he was the greatest of all time.
No doubt about it. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns, and our very special guest is Miles Marshall Lewis. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed. It affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers.
We can help you understand the disease
and give you tips for living a better life.
Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZzzQuil Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Some things can steal your sunshine. Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit Pfizerforall.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
By Plan View contracts and exclusions at EnduranceWarranty.com.
This is an announcement to all United States vehicle owners who own a 2003 or newer vehicle with a manufacturer's warranty about to expire, or no warranty coverage at all. With a struggling economy and the cost of living on the rise, Endurance is now offering an affordable, low-cost vehicle coverage plan to the general public. As of today, you could be one of millions of drivers that now may qualify to have your vehicle protected under this coverage and have all future covered auto repairs paid directly to the repair shop for you. You pick your plan. You pick your deductible. You even pick the repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental coverage is included. Get your vehicle protected now and save your wallet from costly vehicle repairs. A toll-free number has been established for you to call for your free 5-minute quote and to see if you qualify. The number to call is 800-290-6207. 800-290-6207. Again, that's 800-290-6207.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Meat Fridays with our special co-host, Gina Towns. Gina, we're back on the show.
And we are back, Jesse Jr.
Miles Marshall Lewis is a recognized pop cultural critic, essayist, literary agent, fiction writer, and music journalist with a BA degree in sociology from Morehouse College. Miles, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks once again. Great to be here.
Gina?
So, Miles, I don't want to get too far away because in the last segment, we mentioned somebody very special today. We talked about, of course, Muhammad Ali. He always is dear to our hearts, but today is somebody's birthday, isn't it?
That is very true. The late, great Michael Jackson. Yes. Michael Joseph Jackson, no?
Gary, Indiana. Can I just go ahead and get that plug in?
Gina, in fact, Chris Tucker and everyone right now are live in the park on 2300 Jackson Street, literally celebrating the life of Michael Jackson and the unveiling in Miller, Indiana, of a brand new mural. That's absolutely beautiful and gorgeous.
That's fantastic. Yes. I mean, as I mentioned, I was in Rome covering this series about Muhammad Ali and interviewing the costume designer. And she is also the costume designer of Michael, I believe it's going to be called, the movie, the biopic of his life that's coming out next year. And some of the costumes that I was able to see from his Michael's different videos and Grammy performances, the sequin jackets and socks and gloves, all that is really excellent. I expect her maybe to get an Oscar nomination behind that, because the stuff looks so great, and I really look forward to seeing the movie when it comes out. But Michael, as with most Black Americans and people around the world, he holds a special place in my heart. Growing up in the 70s, people always told me that I looked like him as a little kid, and definitely when I hit puberty, it was during Thriller Mania. And so, I had girls sort of, oh, you look like Michael, and I was
going to say that translated into something for you.
Into something, for sure. And senior year of high school, I got to see him at Madison Square Garden performing during the Bad Tour, which was the only time I ever saw him live. And then later as a music journalist, unfortunately, I never actually got to meet him. I've met Prince, I've interviewed Prince and Jay-Z and Beyonce and so many other people, but I never got to meet Michael, unfortunately. So it's even more special to have seen him at the Madison Square Garden show. It was the one time that we shared the same air.
Michael was a life force. I had the privilege of meeting him when I was first, I think, 7 years old, 1972. Interestingly enough, I met him on the same day that I met Colonel Sanders. Michael was staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel. The entire family was staying there, and we were walking around the block. walking actually with the Jacksons, met Colonel Sanders, an old guy in the white suit with the black bow tie and the white hair and the pointy beard, and said, "Wow, that's the chicken guy." And when I speak of Michael as a life force, I'm in my sixth decade, and whenever I fly to Los Angeles and get off of a plane, you can't help, at least I can't help but think about Michael. I mean, his presence for me was LA. It was what it meant to be in superstardom. And whenever he came to Capitol Hill on a couple of occasions advocating for feeding the hungry, Sheila Jackson Lee and I hosted him along with Congressman Bobby Rush. My father was very helpful in pulling the family together for the Victory tour. And I'll never forget the story when Michael came over our house, maybe 10 years before he died, right before the trial or so. And he pulls up in a limousine. Limousine driver gets out, takes out an umbrella, pops the umbrella straight up. Michael gets out, shakes his little black suit, shakes his hair, walks into his house. And if anyone knows anything about my mother, she's a pack rat. So she has all of this stuff everywhere as soon as you walk in the front door. And she's like leading Michael like one step over. And she's saying, to get to the living room, you got to step over this. And Michael would step over. Then she said, you have to shimmy over this way. Then you have to walk around this way. And after all of that for several minutes, Michael finally made it to the living room where he met with Dad. But by the time he was finished, outside of our home, a crowd had developed of older women with their curlers in their hair. There was a rumor going around the neighborhood that Michael Jackson was at Reverend Jesse Jackson's house, and his capacity to draw 100 or 200 people very quickly was nothing short of amazing.
Yeah, that sounds par for the course for his life, I mean, I am maybe 10 years younger than you or so, and so I am of the generation that poured over Right On magazine, where they had Michael and Prince on the cover and asking us, like, who's better, like, choose one. And I could never choose one. I mean, like, they were both such seminal forces in my life that Prince and Michael Jackson hold equal stature to me. And I was able to, as I said, to interview Prince at maybe 8 months before he passed away. And I was able to see him during my lifetime, maybe 12 times in concert or so, in New York and Philly and Atlanta and Paris. But yeah, that one time that I saw Michael really sort of blew me away, and his music will forever hold a special place in my spirit.
Absolutely. In fact, when you and I were talking about the show, you posed the question, do you remember where you were?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I was in Paris. I've lived in Paris from 2004 to 2011. And so the year that he passed, I was working for the AFP news service. I guess I was doing entertainment there. And for some reason, I took the day off. Entertainment was my beat there. And I took the day off on the day that they needed me, nobody knew what was going to happen, but I had taken the day off for some reason. And then I started getting calls that day, like, it's too bad you're not here because we could use you, Michael passed. But they weren't the ones to tell me, I don't remember how I found out. It was just all over the internet probably when I woke up that morning. And yeah, it hit hard, it hit extremely hard. He was only 50, and I just never imagined that he'd be gone that soon. In fact, I was about to buy tickets to see his last show because he was going to do 21 dates in London. And I wasn't very far from London, being in France at the time, and I was going to take the train up and go see him during that This Is It tour that never happened.
Gina, where were you?
Oddly enough, my children and I have three. I think my son at the time was probably about 13, and my daughter may have been 8, and the other one would have been 6. And we were filming. We were on location for Tyler Perry's Why'd I Get Married Too? And of course, if anyone has seen the 2 movies, the Janet Jackson is starring in that movie. And so we're extras. We weren't doing anything, but we were in the airport scene where one of my favorites, Tasha Smith, was. And all of a sudden they cut and everybody was just standing around. And we stood around for at least an hour. And a friend of mine named Rusty Bullock, who was working on for Tyler at the time, came. He says, "Don't say anything, but Michael has passed and we had to get Janet out."
Mm.
And I'm telling you, I mean, I don't even know how we really went back once the word, because once somebody says something, the word got around. And so that's where I was.
I was at the White House. On my way to the White House, and I couldn't believe it. Barack Obama was president of the United States. The word had come down that Michael had died. I was numb. I couldn't believe it. At the end of my meetings there, went to Capitol Hill. I went to the floor of the Congress, shared with a number of other members of Congress, especially members of the Black Caucus, that Michael had died. And I approached the microphone and asked for the special privileges of the House. Asked all members of Congress to stand. Very few walked out, but a few did on the Republican side, to announce that Michael had passed and to ask the House of Representatives to pause for a moment of silence. In this moment, I remember saying specifically that if there is a God somewhere, and I believe that there is, that when he stopped at 2300 Jackson Street, that he delivered more talent in that location on that day that I am aware of having been delivered anywhere else in my lifetime. And I believe that Michael was just that special. That's how hard it hit. And I think it's still available on YouTube. The celebration of life of Michael Jackson on the floor of the Congress of the United States.
Yeah. Well,
Gina?
that was a day. And I hear the pause that we have, because certainly on his birthday and on the anniversary of his death, and everywhere in between, we always celebrate the gift that the Jackson family is, and in particular, Michael. So, let me segue just a little bit here, because we talked about the Ali movie, and I'm excited about that. And we talked about, obviously, there's a Michael movie coming up. And I'm so glad to hear that there is a costume designer that joins Ruth Carter on the stage. For Black people entering into that space. So that's awesome. And I wanted to pivot a little bit to a conversation that you and I talked about as with regard to how Hollywood sits sometimes on the backdrop of what's happening in our world. And we talked about a few movies. I know that you watched Elysium.
I did. Yeah, starring Matt Damon and Jodie Foster. I caught that last night. And it's just interesting how prescient certain things can be. I mean, it's obviously by design. Certain ideas swirl in the atmosphere, and Hollywood gets the idea to make movies of them. Civil War is another example, from a few years ago. But I do enjoy how certain works of art get the cultural conversation going, or continue it or add to it,
Or start it.
For sure. I mean, that movie, for those who don't know, it takes place in the future, and there are wealthy people who have moved to a satellite above the earth, and they have free healthcare because at that point there are machines that can repair any ailment that you have. And the poorer people are still remaining on Earth, which is crumbling and decrepit. And there's a lot of drama naturally in terms of people trying to migrate from the Earth to the satellite. And yeah, a lot of that mirrors certain conversations that are being had now about immigration and about healthcare. And I felt it was really well done.
In a more dramatic way, Miles, the idea that the wealthy could be on a satellite or on some ship in space circling the Earth while the rest of us are here, it really does speak to, the great divisions that exist in our society, in our world, between the wealthy and the poor.
For sure. I mean, we're quite a ways away from any of that becoming reality, but at the same time, we're also aware that Elon Musk has a spaceship company doesn't he? You know, like he's trying to get us to Mars, isn't he? You know, the people.
I don't know if he's trying to get us to Mars.
Right.
I think he's trying to go though.
He's trying to get human beings to Mars, and it's going to be obviously the wealthiest human beings who end up, you know, being able to take advantage of that, even to just spend a half hour in the stratosphere, you know, in space. I believe Gail King went. Who went? Who was it that went that I was surprised to see?
Katy Perry went, didn't she?
Yeah, but
Wasn't
it
she
was
on
Gayle
that same
King.
flight? It was
Yeah.
Gail King on our side of town. Yeah.
But either way, I mean, you know, there aren't going to be many of us out there, and that's based on wealth, and that's based on, you know, those sort of disparities. So, yeah.
So, I think we're going to continue this conversation when we come back, right, Jesse?
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward on Fat News Fridays.
The biggest names. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Chicago leaders are bracing for possible National Guard deployment. Black Police Superintendent Larry Snelling says they will not work with federal troops but will protect protesters' rights while cracking down on crime.
We also do not engage in a way where we're obstructing federal agents.
Black Mayor Brandon Johnson says he has not spoken with the White House. Former Vice President Kamala Harris says her Secret Service protection is ending. Biden had extended her detail for a year, but President Trump revoked it as she readies for a nationwide book tour. Her office thanked the Secret Service for their service and dedication. And Cracker Barrel has removed its Pride and Diversity pages from its website after controversy tied to a recent logo change. Reports note the LGBTQ+ Alliance and DEI pages are gone, with the company saying it was just, quote, clearing out-of-date content, end quote. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
USC and UCLA kick off the 2025 season tomorrow. Both teams have a lot of work to do to make up for a disappointing season last year. USC, 4-5 in the Big Ten last year, is at home against Missouri State. UCLA, 3-6 last year in the Big Ten, opens up against Utah in the Rose Bowl. Second year for head coach Deshaun Foster at UCLA. Foster has 57 new players and 8 new assistant coaches. It's a critical year for USC coach Lincoln Riley. This is Riley's 4th season at USC. Under Riley, the Trojans have failed to make the college football playoffs. The best HBCU football game tomorrow is in Miami. Howard and Florida A&M are meeting up in the annual Orange Blossom Classic at Hard Rock Stadium, home of the NFL Miami Dolphins. 1 p.m. kickoff Pacific time. You can catch the game live on ESPNU. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Imagine a world without heart disease and stroke, where every person has the chance to live a full and healthy life. Join us for a walk to save lives at the American Heart Association's Greater Los Angeles Heart and Stroke Walk, Saturday, September 20th at the Rose Bowl. Every step made and every dollar raised means more people learning CPR, more life-saving research, and more time with the ones we love. Sign up at heartwalkla.org. The LA Heart and Stroke Walk is sponsored by Optum, UCLA Health, Keck Medicine of USC, and Dignity Health.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Miles Marshall Lewis is the author of the essay collection Scars of the Soul, or Why Black Kids or Kids Wear Bandages When They Don't Have Bruises, concerning coming of age in the Bronx under the aegis of hip-hop culture at its genesis. Marshall, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hello, hello. Great to be back.
Gina?
So we talked about the movies that you've been traveling with. And one of the things we also talked about and kind of falls along in the same genre as Muhammad Ali is the Ed Sullivan Show, where our good friend Carrie Gordy, was integral to making that come to life and sharing on Netflix. So if you haven't seen that, please see it. But I know that you did, Miles.
Right. Yeah. I would love to give a little mini memorial to an old friend of mine, Sasha Jenkins, who was the director of that project and who passed away some months ago. Mm-hmm. We had an interesting relationship going back to the 90s, just in terms of coming up in hip hop culture as writers, as hip hop journalists. I succeeded him as the music editor of Vibe magazine back in the late 90s. And in the aughts, he became a director. He sort of segued out of music journalism and into filmmaking. And he's got some excellent films, the Ed Sullivan Project included, which is on Netflix. But he did an excellent documentary about Louis Armstrong. He did one about Biz Markie, the beloved Golden Age MC Biz Markie. He did a Wu-Tang Clan project He had his hands in a lot of different things, and he had a lot of different interests, above and beyond just hip hop culture, spanning back even to the era of the jazz era of Louis Armstrong, and naturally, the 50s, 60s, really 60s era of Ed Sullivan. So I was glad to see this project come to fruition, and it's his final project. And just want to give a shout out to Sasha Jenkins.
Sunday Best on Netflix. Kerry Gordy was our special guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. show. I think we also had him a couple of times on Fat Meat Fridays. Kerry, I know, has had a small little health setback, but we keep him in our prayers and are grateful for all of his labor and his work to bring Ed Sullivan to life. In a real sense, Miles, he presented Black culture to a real segregated America in a medium and through a form, in a way in which those African-American artists served as ambassadors of who we were to the broader public, to the broader culture.
Yeah, for sure. I remember one of the highlights of the recent Sly Stone documentary by Oscar-winning director Questlove. One of the highlights of that film is Sly's appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, where he sort of leaves the audience and leads them into sort of like a ham bone, kind of walking down the aisle, and it's really exciting, and it's just the psychedelic soul, bringing like a Technicolor sort of vibe to the black and white Ed Sullivan Show at the time. Just made very vivid how when Black performers appeared in Ed Sullivan, it was like they were cultural ambassadors, from all the Motown folks that appeared on the show to, the likes of Sly and the Family Stone. It was an interesting outlet at that time, which of course was not inundated with 20 different variety shows or 20 different talk shows. Ed Sullivan, appearing on Ed Sullivan was a very, very huge deal for its time.
Absolutely. Let's talk about because obviously the truth of the matter is, and one of the reasons to put on display what Ed Sullivan did was because he was at a time when it was not fashionable. In fact, he was the first to have Black people on television and people who were still going through the back door to perform. This is a historical piece of our history in America. So it's interesting that what we have going on is almost a washing away of all of that history, a return to, and if that's what make America great, man, I don't think that many people understood that philosophy.
Right. I mean, I shudder to think of what would happen these days, in this climate for something like the Ed Sullivan Show. I mean, I'm thinking specifically about the recent cancellation of the Stephen Colbert Show, and the different things going on with the administration and Paramount and, that whole situation. I do, I shudder to think. But I mean, in terms of that time period, it was revolutionary, to see. This was a time when anytime there was anybody Black on television, people got on the phone to let each other know, and we were all sort of tuned into the same thing at the same time, rather than just being able to catch it later on YouTube. So yeah, I mean, as a cultural phenomenon, it was.
I knew something, Miles, was going on in the culture when you and I were growing up, and certainly when Gene and I were growing up. Hee Haw.
Right.
Hee Haw was like a hit show. So was Green Acres.
Right.
Those were big shows, and then we showed up, and those shows kind of phased out. Don't forget, there were no Blacks on Gilligan's Island.
No, the Beverly Hillbillies.
Beverly Hillbillies, and now we're I know the show's been canceled, but now we're back to Duck Dynasty. I mean, we're back to Honey Boo Boo. It's like. It's like a war of the cultures here. No room for everybody. It's either one or the other,
Yeah. No, I will make this note that I am also the cultural historian at the Hip Hop Museum, which is opening in the Bronx next year. And we're going through a bunch of meetings. We have Zooms almost every day about the formation of this museum. So we were going through some old footage from the Library of Congress where Pigmeat Markham is performing Here Come the Judge on The Tonight Show. Yep, that was a hit, for him. Probably the last hit of his career in probably around 1968. And so it's one of the earliest examples of like proto rapping or proto MCing in a way, because that, it's sort of a rap song if you really just listen to it with the ears of someone from 2025. And I bring that up to say that his appearance on the Johnny Carson show was in 1968, around the same time that Ed Sullivan was on. And those types of opportunities were just very rare for us, as Black folks and as Black performers to appear, to sit on the couch, with these white hosts.
Gina, we have about a minute and a half before we come forward. Let me ask you or Miles this question. Are we going to see in very public ways the changing of the Super Bowl soon, in light of some of the demands that are being made by the very powerful elite in our country? As you know, it was a real struggle for Jay-Z and others, with Colin Kaepernick leading the way, and then certain forces stepping in to say, hey, at least we'll change the entertainment. Could we very well, Miles, in this climate, based on your sense of history, given how serious these politics are, from colleges all the way to who gets to be on television telling us the news, could we see something of a shift in the culture itself that is concerning?
I believe so, and I'm very concerned about it. Spike Lee was commissioned to direct a project about the life and times of Colin Kaepernick, and it got canceled recently. So all his hard work that was poured into that, at the present moment, will not be seen. It's so for that to be buried tells me all I need to know about the future of the NFL and Super Bowl performances.
Wow.
I know Jay-Z still has a great stake in things, and who's going to be doing what on that day, Super Bowl Sunday. But I don't know.
Give me a moment. This is KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, more with Miles Marshall Lewis.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Dr. Renee here. Did you know this time of year is considered peak asthma season because we typically see a spike in asthma-related hospitalizations? If you have asthma and are having difficulty breathing despite medication, it's time to check in with your doctor so you can help avoid landing yourself in the hospital this season. To learn more about managing your asthma, visit www.luma-edu.com. That's LUMA-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Meat Fridays with our co-host, Gina Towns, the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and Miles Marshall Lewis, cultural critic, essayist, historian, and someone whom we count on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show to give us some sense of where the culture is going. Marshall, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thanks again. Good to be
Gina,
back.
there are 2 important subject matters that you want to broach with Miles, including the idea of the Civil War, the movie,
Yes,
and the Purge.
And
I don't know what order you want to do. I feel like I'm being purged by the Trump administration, but that's just me.
I think I'm going to start with the Purge because it came out first, and then it turned into a mini series. And I think one of the most shocking things that I had ever seen in the theater, like there's Damon Omen 1, 2, 3. There's what's the clown that was running around killing everybody? I mean, I don't know. There's been some horror flicks that really kind of took me over the edge, but The Purge was a different kind of horror movie. It was founded or couched in the founding fathers, giving everyone a day to let themselves be free to just kill for a, I guess, overnight period or whatever. People who were most susceptible to that were homeless people. And if you were out at all, and it really kind of gives me pause, and it gave me pause at the time to just think like, what really happens to some of the homeless shelters that are outdoors that I had seen, and then I'll go back again and I can't find them. Doesn't mean that they were purged, but it just does mean that I can't find them, and it doesn't mean that they weren't. So, I try not to be that type of person in my thinking, but on the backdrop of what's going on now, and we put Civil War on in there with that. Well, how much influence do you think Hollywood has over us? And how does it seem that sometimes they foretell the future?
Yeah, those are very good questions. I think as well about the Hunger Games, even, even though it's based on a novel, or not a series of novels that was written a while ago. But yeah, the Hunger Games, the idea of people going around killing people for sport or as, reality TV, some of these things are prescient, and some of these things are reflections, of the society that we're in. I think that people say that we get the leaders that we deserve, in a way, we get the art not necessarily that we deserve, but the art that's a reflection of the times, so these are some of the ideas that are floating around, in the ether. And these are the things that Hollywood and the powers that be think that we might be entertained by, at this juncture. And so we get things like The Purge, and people are into it, evidently.
When I think about rounding up the homeless, when I think about even yesterday's news where the Department of Health and Human Services, really has a real war going on over at the CDC with respect to the creation of vaccines which save lives. When I think about elimination of the USAID program, United States Government Agency for International Development, that provided food for poor children in Somalia and Africa, in the Gaza and around the world, it just, when I think about exporting immigrants to Uganda and talking about sending U.S. citizens to Ugandan prisons, it just feels like there's something going on around us that I think Gina and I, Marshall, are trying to say Hollywood is reflecting the story, maybe not the exact narrative, but it seems to be that we're devalued and that somehow we don't belong here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, very much. I agree. I agree that that's sort of a lot of the message that's being sent, out of Tinseltown these days. And, again, I think that they're playing on the public sentiment in terms of someone, I hate to even say his name personally, but someone like President Trump, getting the majority vote at this time around, and people actually wanting him in power again, and wanting him to sort of sidestep, all of the retribution that was coming his way, right before he got reelected, and then everything had to go away. If people are into that, a certain amount of, American citizens are into that, then they might be into these forms of entertainment where a lot of these messages are reinforced.
Gina, more than 50% of the country has said it's okay. Miles touches upon an interesting point. They voted for the president, but it's not just about him. It's about half the country. More than half the country said this is okay.
So a lot of people are talking recently about buyer's remorse too, though. I mean, you can't get enough of Kamala Harris in your feed, in your social media feeds, talking about, I tried to tell you also. And they were playing clips in which she said he's going to get rid of the Department of Education. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. And I just don't know if people didn't take him seriously or if they thought it would not affect them. And that's one of those things that I always say, like, you side with people when it's evil, because you think you're going to be okay when evil, asserts itself, but then you find out that you're just a pawn in the whole game and you're not safe either. So, a lot of people are not happy, and the ratings or whatever, his polling is in the trash, I guess. But what does that really mean, though? And what has all of this said about our culture? There's a pop culture, and you are a cultural historian at the Hip Hop Museum. Like, I'm thinking, like, is the Hip Hop Museum in danger? Because look at the Smithsonian.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would hope not. The funding for the museum does not come from federal sources. So, that doesn't necessarily put us in danger at the moment. But I hate to see what's going on at the Smithsonian. I read that a leader of the Smithsonian met with Trump yesterday at the White House to discuss, certain things that the White House wants changed. And you mentioned Kamala Harris, and I saw today that her security detail was rescinded, today, like prematurely. I think it was supposed to expire in July, but Biden had signed something that gave her extra security detail for a year because of security threats. And Trump decided to sort of rip that paper up. I hate to see that kind of stuff. I mean,
Absolutely, because we are actually, that kind of just leads us in for our last couple of minutes, Jesse, into Civil War. I mean, and of course, in that movie, you saw Texas and California, right. And then there were parts of the country that didn't even know that we were at the Civil War. They were just tra-la-la. And, here's California and Texas. not the same states right about now, but there is a Cold War going on.
Very much so. A cultural Cold War that I don't see the ending in sight, necessarily. All I know is that we all need to stick to our guns in terms of what we believe in and what we're principled, stand on our principles. I mean, we began the whole show speaking about Muhammad Ali, and definitely we all need to channel our own inner Muhammad Ali and, and stand on what we believe in and ride this out. We've got 3 more years of this guy.
It's as we prepare to close on this wonderful segment with Miles Marshall Lewis, we're grateful that you participate in the program. I just want to say that the last 75 years, certainly since Brown versus the Board of Education, it feels like this was just a moment in time where we truly got to live and attempted in this system to be our best selves. But there is now a movement to return us to something that we probably won't recognize. Miles, so grateful that you spent your time with us this afternoon on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Look forward to you returning. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More on Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Chicago leaders are bracing for possible National Guard deployment. Black Police Superintendent Larry Snelling says they will not work with federal troops but will protect protesters' rights while cracking down on crime.
We also do not engage in a way where we're obstructing federal agents.
Black Mayor Brandon Johnson says he has not spoken with the White House. Former Vice President Kamala Harris says her Secret Service protection is ending. Biden had extended her detail for a year, but President Trump revoked it as she readies for a nationwide book tour. Her office thanked the Secret Service for their service and dedication. And Cracker Barrel has removed its Pride and Diversity pages from its website after controversy tied to a recent logo change. Reports note the LGBTQ+ Alliance and DEI pages are gone, with the company saying it was just, quote, clearing out-of-date content, end quote. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
USC and UCLA kick off the 2025 season tomorrow. Both teams have a lot of work to do to make up for a disappointing season last year. USC, 4-5 in the Big Ten last year, is at home against Missouri State. UCLA, 3-6 last year in the Big Ten, opens up against Utah in the Rose Bowl. Second year for head coach Deshaun Foster at UCLA. Foster has 57 new players and 8 new assistant coaches. It's a critical year for USC coach Lincoln Riley. This is Riley's 4th season at USC. Under Riley, the Trojans have failed to make the college football playoffs. The best HBCU football game tomorrow is in Miami. Howard and Florida A&M are meeting up in the annual Orange Blossom Classic at Hard Rock Stadium, home of the NFL Miami Dolphins. 1 p.m. kickoff Pacific time. You can catch the game live on ESPNU. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
Girl, close your eyes. Let that rhythm get into you. Don't try to fight it. There ain't nothing that you can do. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. Gina, I'm sorry, I just had to do that.
That's the sauce for the barbecue that we started. But I don't know.
Gina, Fat Meat Fridays got me singing Michael right now. Hey, check this out, Gina. Before we go through a review of the week, Miles dropped some heavy stuff on my head about Lonnie Bunch having lunch with the President of the United States.
Sure.
The historian, probably only comparable to Henry Louis Gates at Harvard University, the quintessential American historian with an incredible knowledge of African American history, had lunch with the President of the United States. The historian, that history doesn't matter. He gets to determine it, shape it himself. That yesterday doesn't matter, but he gets to change it.
Yeah.
Gina, come on. That can't be good news. Lonnie Bunch meeting with the President of the United States.
Well, now.
Are you going to be okay?
There are a number of people over the last time he was in office that decided that they were going to go and try to have a conversation. And, in this administration, we saw the counter from Greensboro, being taken out, put back in. And so, if it were me, I would try to have a conversation. There's no doubt in my mind that I'm going to try to talk some sense into, appeal to whatever goodness that there may be left way deep down in my heart.
Well, there may be, that's one outcome potentially of a meeting with the President of the United States. The other potential outcome, ask Zelensky and the other foreign leader that sits there and has a meeting.
Liberian president.
Oh, he just turns everybody into some kind of prop or some kind of fodder.
President. But I'm sorry. I'm going to wait and go there a little bit.
But, or you meet with the President of the United States and a week later you lose your job.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't feel right. I wish there were some way Lonnie Bunch, one of our greatest historians, could have avoided the meeting altogether. But I think you're right. He probably had to go there and share truth to power because there's nothing Lonnie Bunch can do to change the history. So I've got to believe that, that the history matters.
Well, and there has to be, and there could even be, if not an appeal from Mr. Bunch himself, but someone who has facilitated this meeting and got the president's ear. So perhaps we could just allow that museum to rest for a minute. Just let it be. But because there is such a great desire to wipe away history, to wipe away, in particular, 60 years of America's history right about now. I just, sometimes you just got to keep things in prayer.
Absolutely. Gina, what do we cover Monday?
On Monday, we had our favorite millennial, Ernest Krim. And we always appreciate when Ernest comes on. I tell people now that I'm so excited Ernest is on every Monday in our first hour. He's the only person that actually has time in the first hour on our show. Of course, everyone knows by now, if you've been listening, that there is a second hour weekly host, but Ernest, our favorite millennial, really brought the noise. He talked about what millennials are thinking and how they are feeling about what's going on with regard to the erasing of our history and what we need to do. And he talked a lot about getting out the vote.
Some of us have more yesterdays than tomorrows. And I am particularly grateful and honored to spend this time with Ernest and other millennials, but particularly Ernest, because he is a historian. He has worked in the nation's public school system, and he has his foot, if you will, on the pulse of what's taking place in his generation, their historical perspectives, their challenges. We talked about a number of issues, including the challenges to the Voting Rights Act of 1965, authoritarian leadership, why we must vote. And to hear some insights from Ernest is nothing short of amazing.
Well, yeah, and he has younger children. And so one of the things that I definitely wanted him to talk about was what it felt like for school to just start and the prospect as a parent of perhaps your children having to witness the National Guard being in place, which is something that looks like a video game, to them perhaps, but, the seriousness of what it really is. So
I am particularly proud of that generation and the work that they have to do. Certainly in 2026, we're counting on that generation to step up, have its voices heard, to speak, to vote, to care, to stop complaining about what they don't have, use what they got. And Ernest is going to be part of that leadership. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Absolutely. And we stand with them. I am a big proponent of generations X, Y, and Z, making sure that they communicate, bridge gaps, and stand. I mean, that's the word that I have. Stand for what's right, stand for what's good, and standing on solid ground.
Mm-hmm. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. Gina, is it greasy?
One of the so listen, I'm gonna put this up here. So on Fat Meat Fridays, we put that meat in that skillet and we see if we can get some flavor on it. But we, in the meantime, in between time, we also want to cut away some of the fat so that we are working on a lean piece of meat that is satisfying to what we need to strengthen us and to be healthy for us. But we're also learning to discern week to week, generation to generation. And so we reflect on what has happened during the week, and then we talk about what activity we need to take as a result. So that is part of our reflectivity on Fat Meat Fridays. And certainly we have had a number of conversations that I know we're going to continue to get to when we get back.
When we come forward, you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with Gina Towns.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up! Oscar!
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed, it affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers.
We can help you understand the disease
and give you tips for living a better life.
Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZzzQuil Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Some things can steal your sunshine.
Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
By Plan View Contracts and Exclusions at EnduranceWarranty.com.
This is an announcement to all United States vehicle owners who own a 2003 or newer vehicle with a manufacturer's warranty about to expire, or no warranty coverage at all. With a struggling economy and the cost of living on the rise, Endurance is now offering an affordable, low-cost vehicle coverage plan to the general public. As of today, you could be one of millions of drivers that now may qualify to have your vehicle protected under this coverage and have all future covered auto repairs paid directly to the repair shop for you. You pick your plan. You pick your deductible. You even pick the repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental coverage is included. Get your vehicle protected now and save your wallet from costly vehicle repairs. A toll-free number has been established for you to call for your free 5-minute quote and to see if you qualify. The number to call is 800-290-6207. 800-290-6207. Again, that's 800-290-6207.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive and we don't black down.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Fat Me Fridays with Gina Towns. Gina, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and Fat Me Fridays.
Hi, Jesse Jackson Jr.
Gina.
Yes.
Reverend Teresa Horde Owens.
Mm-hmm.
The first African-American woman to head a mainline denomination where more than 80% of her congregants in both the United States and Canada are not Black but white. I was reminded this week that all of human history is about this moment.
Yes.
All the world is exactly where it was 365 days ago at this very second, even as it spins around the sun and spins around its own axis to create day and night and to change days. We spin around the sun, and 365 days later, we are exactly where we were 1 year ago at this time, which means that we are born in time, over time, but the uniqueness of who we are against the universe that is ever expanding and always changing, nothing is changing right here in this space, which shares and tells me that God has a purpose for us in this moment that is unique. And so when I say that all of human history is about you, or it's about me, or it's about Terry, or it's about the person who casts their vote, or it's about the mother who loved their child, or the father who cared for their community and their families, in that moment, you are truly unique. And Terry Horde Owens is truly unique. In this anti-Black, anti-DEI, anti-humanistic view of human history, She's incredibly unique.
She definitely is. And I don't know if it's proper to say about the good Reverend, that's my girl, but I love Terry. I love her attitude. She does not falter.
And she never leaves the table.
She never leaves the table. I love the book, Staying at the Table. She calls people to stay at the table unapologetically. And she leads as a Black woman, not trying to please people, but to please God. And so I loved what she talked about. She talked about the fact that there is a move amongst clergy and people that she keeps in contact with, because of course she is one of the disciples, if you will, of Reverend Barber, and she always encourages us to pay attention to what's going on at Repairers of the Breach and Moral Mondays. But she talked about the fact that there will be fully dressed clergy known as poll chaplains for the next election. And so that they will gather, they will stand at the table, they're going to sit at the table. And she says, there's just something about church, leaders in the church standing in the polls where people just behave better.
They behave better. That's exactly what she said. It was almost consistent with a recommendation from our favorite millennial, who said it'd be great to see members of the clergy wearing their full garments, if you will, between protesters and the National Guard, to remind them that this is a civil discourse and that it should not turn violent.
Absolutely.
And so, two really big action points here this week, both on our Monday show. Ernest Krim said that clergymen and clergywomen should be full vested garments standing between the National Guard and those who are protesting, make the National Guard feel at ease, and certainly make the protesters know that their First Amendment rights are covered, if you will. And then Teresa Hort Owens saying that at the polling place, fully vested garment wearing clergy persons add a level of civility to the process.
Yeah, and because it's Moving Mountain Mondays, and I'm so glad that we can take an opportunity to talk about why these days are what they are. Moving Mountain Mondays is right when you're coming off Sunday, and sometimes you take such a if you're on a roller coaster, you can take such a dip on Monday after you've been on such a high. Really being able to reflect and be free in your spirit, and then have to return, if you will, to the world. And so it's really important that we learn how to separate ourselves from the things that are going on. And so Moving Mountain Mondays on and Terry show, well, let me even go back to Ernest, his is What's Love Got to Do with the Community, Common Unity, and then Terry, the Faith Not to Fall. We have to have the faith not to fall right now. And what's love got to do with it? It helps us have the faith to not fall. And the way that we don't fall is because we've got unity in our community and we consider one another better than ourselves. But that's our building faith. And so that's our Moving Mountain Monday. And it was a great time this week.
On Tenacious Tuesday, August 26, 25.
Tenacious Tuesday. We started out with
Hallelujah.
I know, don't do that to David, though.
Okay, I won't.
I know, because he hears it all the time.
Okay,
But, if you look at him very well, if you are with us on Facebook or any of the other platforms, if you're on YouTube, you can't see, but you certainly can go to Facebook and find the Jesse Jackson Jr. show. You're going to see that David Day looks just like Morris Day, and there's a reason for that.
Nice.
So every time he walks in somewhere, we go, America, have you heard? But we did not make him do that.
Correct. Gina did it instead.
Well, you did it.
Oh, well,
when he
only
was on.
prompted by you.
Yes.
David Day is the chairman of 100 Black Men of Chicago and the director of the Emmett Till and Maybe Till Mobley Institute. He joined us talking about mentoring, back to school, avoiding conflict, and parental engagement in the Trump era as the nationwide organization, as well as the commemoration of Emmett Till's murder, which also took place, the 70th anniversary of that god-awful, tragic event. I think it's somewhat ironic that during the time that David Day would make his appearance on our program, that the nation would be reeling again in another school shooting. Gina?
Just amazing. I appreciate the work that David has been doing for years, and the work that 100 Black Men and so many other organizations that have a same pattern and the same philosophy, a same mission and vision for mentoring. Big Brother, Big Sister, Jack and Jill, Back in my day, it was Tots and Teens. Give them a shout out. I don't know if they're still around, but I will tell you this, that how important is mentoring right now, because as we talked about with Ernest, you're going to have school age kids who have never seen armed individuals, on the streets, even as you're just driving down the street. If your father or mother gets pulled over, how do we all handle that? And one of the things that David talked about was the fact that they are not only working with the students that they're mentoring, which are generally high school students, male and female, but on the collegiate level as well with the Collegiate 100. And they're also engaging the parents to help parents to stay calm as we, figure out exactly how to handle this as troops, National Guard troops, and perhaps even military troops assume the streets of more cities in our country.
I was thinking after the school shooting recently this week in Minnesota, Minneapolis, that in America, unlike any other country in the history of the world, the Congress of the United States and the Senate of the United States, as well as the President of the United States, have the power to change the definition of a word. Imagine that, changing the definition of a word. If what you know in your mind to be black, if Congress decided that that color is now white and the color white is now black, that would be the new definition of white, the color notwithstanding. Congress has the power to write a law that says when you see this color, it means red. When your mind tells you it's black, but it's actually red. Congress has that power. And when I think about school shootings, and when I think about the Second Amendment, and I think about the word militia, and I think about the words the right to bear arms, you do realize that Congress can pass a law to change the definition of what it means to have a militia. It can redefine militia. It can define it as a church choir if it chooses to. And it also can define arms as a slingshot if it chooses to.
Arms.
Or bear arms. Or it could say to bear arms is to bear flowers. It means one and the same. You can't carry anything but flowers. Congress can change definitions because Congress and that process has the power to change language. And I don't know if it's ever been considered because we spend so much time arguing about guns. But why don't we just try something simple? That we, the Congress of the United States, determine that this language now means this in English. And we change the terms without even changing the Constitution. I know somebody out there is laughing right now, but believe me when I tell you, there's nothing in the Constitution that says probable cause. There's nothing. Congress and the courts determine what probable cause is and was. There's nothing in the Constitution that says Miranda rights. Congress and the courts determined what constitutes Miranda rights. They gave Miranda a definition. So Congress can create definitions. It's just some of the words in the Constitution we've decided as a Congress and as a nation that we just don't want to change, and we can. Believe that, my friends. Laugh at it now, but believe me when I tell you, you heard it first right here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, first of all, Jesse Jackson Jr., let's say that you have to have a vision. And attached to that vision must be a mission. And so you have to come to the office having that in the forefront. And so that makes what you're doing a ministry of sorts. And maybe not even of sorts, of purpose. And so when you come with a vision of, if we can't do it this way, then perhaps we can try it this way. You have to be, focused on it. And sometimes you're going to have to convince your colleagues. I mean, just because you're an elected official, it doesn't mean that you're not also a lobbyist, even though there are lobbyists that are there, people who do government and community affairs, because I never want to call myself that. But here's the other responsibility that takes place. If you are innovative like that, and you are making changes because you have a vision and people buy into it, not only do you have a responsibility to change the definition, but then you have to educate the public on what the new definition is. And there seems to be some sort of pushback about education altogether. Let's just leave them dumb. Let's just let them be sheep chewing the cud or whatever. And I am not, I'm not for that for anybody.
We have a little less than a minute and 30 seconds before we come forward. So I might as well just count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we unleashed Barbara on the nation. She is probably by far our most popular co-host on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Barbara unloaded on Hurricane Katrina this week, Gina.
For sure she did. She reminded us of the anniversary. I mean, there were a lot of anniversaries this week. We've covered Michael Jackson's birthday today, and Emmett Till, I hate to say anniversary of it, the commemoration of his
70th
life.
anniversary of his death.
And then Barbara reminded us about Hurricane Katrina. And it was funny because my daughter, and perhaps there are many more videos, particularly on TikTok, where she spends a lot of her time showing Katrina. And, they're little kids at that time and it doesn't compute. But now she called me and she says, Mom, did you see all those people on the top of the Superdome when Katrina happened? I said, well, I sure did. And I also was able to say that we need to go to a break, and we will continue that conversation when we come back.
When we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. 70 years after 14-year-old Emmett Till was lynched, the Mississippi Department of Archives is displaying the pistol used in his killing.
The weapons acquisition ensures it will be preserved for scholars to study and future generations to understand this important tragedy.
That's to Mississippi Museum's director Michael Morris. Till's murder spotlighted racial violence, and in 2022, President Biden signed the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is pushing new rules after a Harlem Legionnaires outbreak killed 7 people. His plan calls for more cooling tower inspections, monthly testing, higher fines, and community education. And Florida has executed Curtis Wyndham, a black man convicted of killing 3 people 33 years ago. The 59-year-old was put to death by lethal injection, marking Florida's 11th execution this year, which is a state record. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
USC and UCLA kick off the 2025 season tomorrow. Both teams have a lot of work to do to make up for a disappointing season last year. USC, 4-5 in the Big Ten last year, is at home against Missouri State. UCLA, 3-6 last year in the Big Ten, opens up against Utah in the Rose Bowl. Second year for head coach Deshaun Foster at UCLA. Foster has 57 new players and 8 new assistant coaches. It's a critical year for USC coach Lincoln Riley. This is Riley's 4th season at USC. Under Riley, the Trojans have failed to make the college football playoffs. The best HBCU football game tomorrow is in Miami. Howard and Florida A&M are meeting up in the annual Orange Blossom Classic at Hard Rock Stadium, home of the NFL Miami Dolphins. 1 p.m. kickoff Pacific time. You can catch the game live on ESPNU. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change, with workshops workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my 2 sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Be heard. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Nick Fridays with none other than our creator and executive producer, Gina Towns. Gina, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Well, thank you for having me, Jesse Jackson Jr. We left off on Barbara Irwine.
Talking about Katrina and what we witnessed and could not believe in terms of what Barbara Irwine referred to as the dereliction of duty of the federal government. We can't imagine it happening in other parts of the country, except, I guess, with the devastating cuts to FEMA, Donald Trump wants to visit upon other Americans what we experienced in the lower Ninth Ward.
Yeah, and certainly we don't want to overlook the Texas flooding that happened just, a few weeks back. Certainly, catastrophe is going to come. Human error is always an issue. We have forgiveness because I can't imagine what it would be like to be involved with making an error. But you're right we cannot overlook the levees in the Ninth Ward and who that affected. And a year later, I did get to go into the Ninth Ward with one of my good friends who at the time was a cameraman for the Fox affiliate there in New Orleans. And it was unimaginable, the stench that was still there, the smell of death that took place there. So we do remember the families and the people who perished at Katrina.
Gina, we became very wealthy on Wednesday with Atiba and Dr. Estadieri.
Atiba, conversations with Atiba. Man, I got to tell you, Atiba always brings a flavor to the conversation And I don't know if it was him or if it was Todd. I think it was Todd who talked about the fact that we must navigate the halls of death. This was my quote of the week, so I'm gonna jump up to it, and I'll get back into Atiba, because they really just kind of went together to me. He says we must navigate the halls of death in order to regain the spirit of living, the spirit of life. And certainly, Atiba challenges us with that. And for all that are who are listening, it really does get down to us. We can only break it down so much. We can only see the news so much. And sometimes the news is not broken down so that various communities, and in particular the Black community, can understand the impact that it has. And sometimes the stuff is directed at us, and many times right now it is directed at us, dismantling things that certain generations have had for all of their lives. And actually probably X, Y, and Z have had the results of the civil rights movement for all of our lives, and have never really had to face an onslaught. I think, there's always been incidences that people could look at and grasp and say, well, here's Trayvon Martin, and here's, Rodney King, and here's George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor. And so, yes, Philando Castile, it goes on and on and on. And even Jelani Day, as we had his mom on these things continue to happen in the Black community. But to be able to see the laws that are supposed to protect us, and the people who are supposed to protect every American citizen, turn away is a really something to behold.
G, I think about, in my faith, Moses telling Pharaoh to let my people go. And how many people had the opportunity to tell Pharaoh to let my people go? And how courageous it must have been for Moses, whose leadership elevated himself to a biblical character, let my people go, that of the tens of thousands, if not millions of people that might have found themselves in pharaonic slavery, only one person emerged to go and have a little speech with Pharaoh about letting my people go.
Absolutely.
Right? Go tell it. We sing the song, Go Tell It on the Mountain, but that ain't no choir. A choir may sing the song, but Go Tell It on the Mountain might be one Dr. King who has been to the mountaintop and sees, the valley and the promised land. Not a large group of people. Right? So there is a valley view of life, and there's, of course, a mountaintop view, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And my thinking is that, someone has to tell Trump you're wrong as hell, and we're living in a time where, we're going to figure out down here in Judea, we're going to figure out down here in the ghettos of Egypt, how we can live amongst ourselves. But at the same time, dude, you're responsible for the conditions of the ghetto in Egypt at the bottom of the pyramids. And so, I'm from that tradition where we're supposed to be shouting at Donald Trump, resisting Donald Trump right now.
So, yes, there are watchmen and there are prophets. And, since we're going to go here, then let's go here, because the majority of our time is spent in the valley.
Yeah.
And if we are sheep and we are the masses, and that's fine, because that's true. And every now and then you get to climb the mountain. There's a great day, a great period in your life where you are all teeth, and you are on the top of the mountain. And then comes a storm and the mudslide, and you're kind of back down in the valley again. And we learn how to be content in the valley. So the secret of contentment, is that you do have something to eat, that you do have something to drink, that if you are in prison, someone comes to visit you, and that you can have some clothes on your body because somebody shared with you. It is, as you and Todd, you guys even brought up, the road where, you see the Pharisee pass by.
My dad often reminds me that no matter how poor they were, there was an expectation of dignity. They still carried themselves a certain way.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I appreciated about what Atiba had to say was there is accountability no matter what your station of life is. And we need to look at being self-accountable. I got that. And I really had to reflect upon that over the course of the week. because it was provoking.
Absolutely.
That in a segregated South where we didn't have much, where we only had each other, there was still an expectation, that we didn't steal, that we carried ourselves a certain way, that we didn't cuss out our women, that we just had to behave differently, no matter what we have to be accountable. That's specifically the word that Atiba used.
Well, and that's the whole point behind Wealthy Wednesday. And I really do love the way that Todd came in and wrapped everything up with what he said, and that it sometimes we're going to have to navigate the halls of death in order to regain the spirit of life. And that is what we
He
seek.
said that
We seek
now.
that wisdom. That's what Wealthy Wednesday is about. It's not about monetary wealth. It is about seeking wisdom and the politics of our faith, because Black people in general have always been a faith-filled community, but there's always been politics. And so we always have to vote our common interest, our collective interests. And sometimes there may be some things that we don't want in that mix, but we have to vote our collective interest. And that is the politics of our faith, which brings us to Thought-Provoking Thursday and Dr. Azza Karam in the first hour.
After we overcame a few technical difficulties, Dr. Karam came with it. She spoke truth to power from one end of the world, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, to Uganda, to the West Bank, to the Gaza Strip. And she talked about a model of leadership.
Absolutely.
What the model of leadership is for appropriate periods of time. And she agreed, Gina, with all of our theologians and theological friends who've argued that it's very difficult to create a Martin Luther King Jr. Gina, we have about 30 seconds before we come forward. I just want to add that it was amazing that none of our theologians have interacted before they came on our show, but we asked them the same question. Why don't white communities produce, and why can't they produce, a Martin Luther King Jr.? And her answer was the same as everyone else's: entitlement. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580 more with Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-433-8909. 800-433-8909. That's 800-433-8909. Or simply visit godra.com.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. This is Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns. Gina brings us reflectivity every Friday, and we discuss all of the fat meat from the week. Gina, welcome back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse Jackson Jr. Let's get right back to Dr. Karam, because you mentioned right before we started talking about her that it was up to somebody to have the guts to go scream at Donald Trump. And one thing she talked about was that it seems like no one has courage right now. No one has courage in the country, but then also because of her viewpoint and where she's stationed in life at the United Nations, in a special project and a project that joins religions for peace. Nobody on the world stage has any courage either. I mean, she just kind of went in, she has a bird's eye view, and she diagnosed the lack of moral courage on the world stage as being part of the problem.
That's what she said now. She said the lack of courage on the world stage. Now, I got to be candid with you. I've been to meetings with some pretty powerful people, and when they get in front of other powerful people, people that I once thought were powerful people became weak in the presence of other powerful people. So I'm wondering what happens when some of our leadership gets before Donald Trump. Do they speak truth to power, or do they get weak? I've seen that in my lifetime. I've seen it happen. You know how we kind of fawn over celebrities, and in their presence, we feel some kind of way. And then you forgot that, hey, they comb their hair, brush their teeth, and, hopefully wipe their behind just like all of us do. And that they're just another person, but they have influence and they have power. And I think, power and principalities can find themselves in high places, but we must be prophetic, like Dr. Cornel West says, and speak truth to power.
Well, they also become bedfellows. And the problem with that is when money becomes involved, because you can't serve morality and money at the same time. I mean, the scripture, if you wanted to get down to it, was you can't serve both God and money. You will love the one and hate the other.
Is it God and money or God and mammon?
It's God and money. Mammon was the other, yes, but it's God and money because, yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes we got to graduate and read not the King's English, but this English we speak over here.
Gina, you know that Thursdays is becoming quite a global experience. Johnny Mac this week is going to be in Kinshasa.
Yes.
In the Congo. Dr. Aza Karam from the United Nations. P.L. Da Silva from Sri Lanka. Yes. Jose Matthews comes in regularly from Johannesburg, South Africa. Share with us your vision for Thursdays and worldwide.
What happens, and I'm going to even share on this coming Thursday. Thursdays is known as worldwide. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show presents worldwide, and it looks like I am fortunate that we have people who are able to come to us where they are. Sometimes they're in the United States, but the gift of the internet, while it sometimes can be a double-edged sword, is that we can have people and speak to people and find out what they're thinking and what their view is. And so we spend Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday talking about different viewpoints, the news, the stories that are going on, how they're affecting people here in the United States and in different parts of the United States. And on Thursday, we end up bringing it all together and putting it on a world stage. And so this week we have Mr. Abel Ayelebi, who is going to be with us straight from Ethiopia. And of course, Dr. Karam was speaking to us from, I believe she was in Amsterdam. And of course, her husband is PLO, not PLO Lumumba, but PL De
We
Silva.
need to chase him down, by
Yeah,
the
we
way.
sure do. But at any rate, you know, it is really nice how this is unfolding. And that kind of brings us in our last few minutes, because I do want to take some time to talk about Johnny Mack, Dr. Johnny Mack and the World House.
It just gets heavier and heavier every week. One of our youngest listeners, Mason, I know you're listening right now. Mason says, I love the Johnny Mack show.
Mm-hmm.
Mason made a cameo on our program, I think earlier in the week, or certainly the latter part of last week, and said hello to our studio audience. But he said, Johnny Mack, he talks so smooth. And he's Mason's in 4th or 5th grade. He said he's reflective. Well, Johnny Mack really brings the week together for us in both Dr. King's intentionality, but also, you know, challenges us to not only stand for the right things, but take the inward journey as we transform ourselves so that we are in a position not only to transform the social edifice, but to be the foundation of a new edifice.
Absolutely. And I'm glad we have a few minutes to spend on it. And if you have not downloaded the podcast from yesterday, please do. It is available at Apple Podcasts, at KBLA, Spreaker, and I know I'm missing somebody. But at any rate, I said on the world stage, the doctors diagnosed and then they prescribed. And when I got to the bird's eye view that Dr. Karam diagnosed and the lack of courage is the diagnosis, then Johnny Mack came on and gave us the prescription to get us well. And he says it really gets down to dedicating oneself to the continued fight for the bend in the moral arc on the world stage. The cure, when we shed ourself, we grow community and we heal the human race.
Speaking of healing the human race, the last time we had Angie Coleman Scott on our program, she was mourning the loss of her lovely mother. And now today she's in Ghana.
She is. She's still on an airplane heading to Ghana, and we'll give a shout out to her because our engineer on this show, not at the KBLA studio, that's Miles, but our engineer here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. show is Torrance Scott, and that is his mother. And so we, we send our safe travel wish and our prayers along with his mom as she travels to Ghana. So at any rate, I want to get down into this Johnny Mack show.
This metalogic.
Let's get it going now.
So I'm thinking, Gina, in a real sense, Dr. King was assassinated obviously on April 4th, 1968. We've been asked to carry forward his life and legacy by giving our flesh and our bone to an interpretation of Christianity that itself is evolving. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that Jesus of Nazareth preached a ministry for 3 years, but did not live to establish a single church.
Mm-hmm.
He just did not. You can't make him the founder of Christianity. You can make him the inspirer of Christianity, someone who gave tremendous inspiration to the idea, but he did not found a religion. That's the way the first century Christians saw Jesus of Nazareth. So I raised this question of being an avatar that Dr. King struggled with. How do we become the personification of our highest and best selves, while at the same time engaging in direct action with a spirit of love, mercy, and forgiveness to change the triple evils of poverty, militarism, and materialism? And that's not just a transformation of the edifice itself. I posited that you're also asking Johnny for a transformation of the inward journey and spirit of the human beings that are engaging in that journey.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
I love that, by the way. Here's the thing.
When we talk about bending the moral arc, we have to talk about what the moral arc actually is. It's the systems and structures in which we live. And so that's why you can never escape the moral code meeting the civil code. Our civil code, the laws, the way that we govern ourselves, the way that we live, the way that we treat one another, the fact that we can't encroach, as Dr. King says, well, I can't legislate your heart. In other words, like Fat Meat Friday, I can't cut away the fat. I can't circumcise your heart. But what I can do is I can work on the legislation that helps you to not harm me as a result. But when your heart is already circumcised, that's not part of what you're focusing on. And so in order to change the system or to bend the moral arc, we have to have a change of heart in and of ourselves. Now, how does that happen? Well, I think we're going to have to really kind of continue to broach that issue. And I'm glad that we are with Johnny Mac every week on Thursdays, because we run out of time. There's just not enough time, because how do we come to that? If we are a nation that says we believe and we have tolerance for those who do not believe, and that our faith is what gets us through, then why are so many people on our show right now calling what's going on in this system that we have right now evil? So I think that we are going to really get back down to that.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This has been Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. 70 years after 14-year-old Emmett Till was lynched, the Mississippi Department of Archives is displaying the pistol used in his killing.
The weapons acquisition ensures it will be preserved for scholars to study and future generations to understand this important tragedy.
That's to Mississippi Museum's director Michael Morris. Till's murder spotlighted racial violence, and in 2022, President Biden signed the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is pushing new rules after a Harlem Legionnaires outbreak killed 7 people. His plan calls for more cooling tower inspections, monthly testing, higher fines, and community education. And Florida has executed Curtis Wyndham, a black man convicted of killing 3 people 33 years ago. The 59-year-old was put to death by lethal injection, marking Florida's 11th execution this year, which is a state record. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
USC and UCLA kick off the 2025 season tomorrow. Both teams have a lot of work to do to make up for a disappointing season last year. USC, 4-5 in the Big Ten last year, is at home against Missouri State. UCLA, 3-6 last year in the Big Ten, opens up against Utah in the Rose Bowl. Second year for head coach Deshaun Foster at UCLA. Foster has 57 new players and 8 new assistant coaches. It's a critical year for USC coach Lincoln Riley. This is Riley's 4th season at USC. Under Riley, the Trojans have failed to make the college football playoffs. The best HBCU football game tomorrow is in Miami. Howard and Florida A&M are meeting up in the annual Orange Blossom Classic at Hard Rock Stadium, home of the NFL Miami Dolphins. 1 p.m. kickoff Pacific time. You can catch the game live on ESPNU. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., inviting you to join me weekdays at 12 noon, right after Tavis Smiley, here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a law school graduate and a theologian, with a firm grasp of our body politic given almost 2 decades in Congress, my show is the fresh new home of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to the DL Hughley Show. No one does your afternoons like DL. Plus, you can take him everywhere you go.
Don't drink after him. I don't know. That might spread.
Download the DL Hughley Show app now at Google Play and the App Store. You'll love it. It's the DL Hughley Show. And we're back.
My name is DL. What did you set this on, hell? You gotta make her say my name one time, here. My name is DL.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for DL Hughley.
It is the DL Hughley Show, your 2025 edition. And very interesting. So, every day, if you're like me, every day across your feed, Donald Trump does something petty every day. Petty.
Yes.
And every day, he does something even more petty. Just when you think that he's all pettied out, that he's reached the height of pettiness, he can top himself, no matter what. And so today, he, of course, woke up and decided to cancel Kamala Harris's Secret Service detail. Coincidentally, right about the time she's getting ready to go on tour, her book tour.
Right.
And we know this is I think that politicians have always had a relative amount of danger, but no, we know that specifically politicians. We know that Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked. We know that we had Scalise, he was shot. We had 2 Democratic congressmen killed. So we live in a climate now that's not only reckless, it's irresponsible, but it's inviting something bad to happen.
Right.
He might as well have hung a dinner bell out.
Yep.
Because it is an implied threat is what it is.
Are we surprised?
No, not at all.
No, but even every presidential norm he's just destroyed. Every single thing.
Yeah.
Every single thing. And it's just, how polarized they are. We know how, people, his sycophants are really a danger to people. I don't think this is an accident. I think he's doing it on purpose.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
So sad. We're going to start calling him, what is his name? His name is Petty LaBelle. That's his name.
Petty Murphy.
Yeah, it's a new name. Happy birthday. Of course, it's Michael Jackson's birthday. We're going to celebrate all day. Happy birthday to Michelle Ndegeocello. Happy birthday to Elliot Gould. Happy birthday to David West. Happy birthday to AJ Calloway, my friend, brother. How's he doing? Happy birthday to Timothy Bradley. Happy birthday to Ada Rodriguez, one of my faves. Possibly, of course, a happy birthday to one and only Michael Jackson, John McCain, Robin Leach, Elizabeth Sanford, who was Weezy on the Jeffersons. We had Diana Washington. Happy birthday. Happy heavenly birthday to her. Happy birthday to Charlie Parker, the saxophonist. Happy birthday to Vivian Thomas, the pioneer of cardiac surgery and groundbreaking surgical techniques, and the very first African American to carry out open heart surgery on a white patient. This wasn't at Kaiser, you know that. We got a great show lined up. Of course, Jasmine will tell us what's trending, and it's Friday, so do not worry. Mr. DL Hughley Show.
KBLA Talk 1580. Racism, voter suppression, miseducation, wealth building, gun violence, homelessness. What's on your mind? We're listening around the clock. We've got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580.
Time for what is trending. Like the kid, here go.
Jasmine.
What, man?
Can you please tell these good people what is trending?
I know you're going to love this story and you're not going to be surprised by it because I already know your feelings of these things. But there is a mega pastor whose church has been taken down. David Taylor, pastor of the Kingdom of God Global Church. Wow, when you find out all the stuff that he did from this alleged cult that he had, that he had all of these call centers in 4 different states. He had mansions in St. Louis and Florida and pretty much all over the country. And I guess the feds have been watching him because allegedly he was forcing a lot of people to work incredibly crazy hours by cold calling people, seeking donations for the church that were supposed to be obviously for the upbuilding of the kingdom, which was really purchasing multiple homes and cars and this lavish lifestyle that he was leading. But he would do things like prevent them from eating and, all kinds of crazy things if they did not meet their quota. But also at the church, there was a lot of money laundering going on. It was just crazy.
If you're that dumb to follow a dude like that, I don't feel bad if you drink Kool-Aid. I don't feel bad. If you're that stupid, I just don't feel bad.
You see, your boy got convicted with it now. The one that, remember who got supposedly mugged on live stream during the service?
Yeah.
The one that wanted to fight you, deal.
Yeah. He's doing a lot of fighting now.
And praying.
Guard!
Well, I tell you what, all he got to do is say Trump's name, he'll pardon him.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
That's all he got to do.
I mean, just incredible when you listen to, and you're right. I guess you have to already be kind of predisposed to this type of thinking already, because I watched some of his videos where he was asking for people to send in money. He was getting over $50 million
He's
a
whoever
year.
did it is stupid.
Yes,
yeah.
without a doubt.
Like without a doubt. That's